All right, for those early birds who are showing up, we will get started here in about 3 or 4 minutes, kind of right at the 3 o'clock time. Thanks for joining me for our quick and down and dirty insta-webinar. So if you've never had a webinar by me, everything we do is live in real time, and we just kind of build everything, nothing cookie cutter, nothing pre-built. We're going to dive through the whole process of what it is to build a flip card with Zion Builder. So, and I'll probably build it twice. One using a simple CSS method using Zion Builder, and then we'll dive in to see, can we actually build it without touching code or touching CSS? So it should be fun. We'll start here in about 2 minutes or so. So we got people logging in from on Facebook, people logging in on YouTube. You should be seeing the Zion Builder website and hearing my voice. We're going to keep this really simple. None of the flair of other webinars, other layouts. Basically, I'll just be sharing my screen with you all and going step by step how to do the process. So if you just found yourself here because you came from the Zion Builder Facebook page or something, welcome. I am Benjamin, and I have been teaching WordPress code development, all sorts of stuff for probably over 15 years. And we'll start right at the top of the hour. And the best part about this is if you can't stay for the whole thing, that's too bad, but it'll all be recorded, and I'll just leave it up on the YouTube channel so you can watch the replay if you need to. And if people want, I can also maybe cut out all the code and provide code for people directly, because I will show you some CSS stuff. I'm just waiting for it to flip over to 3 o'clock here on the East Coast of the United States. So we got just a few seconds to go. Greetings from South Africa. It's been a while since I've been in South Africa. I spent a lot of time down in Cape Town, Durban, Port Elizabeth, Richards Bay. Loved my time in South Africa. Okay, it is now 3 o'clock. So let me hit record and we will get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world tuning in to another live WP Studio event. This is a special Insta webinar that actually stemmed from a question that was asked on the Zion Builder Facebook page. Somebody was asking, hey, can you use Zion Builder to create a flip card where you hover over the card and it flips around to other content? And as you can kind of see, hey, look, we are inside Zion Builder. So yes, this is what we are going to be building today. So we're going to go through the whole process of building Zion Builder, or building a flip card, and make sure I've got everything set up here. 1 second. I've got like 3 or 4 monitors here. I just want to make sure that everything is visible. So this is what we're going to be doing today. We are going to be building this card. So, and that's a great thing. For those of you who are in the chat room and you're wondering, hey, I know that they've got this little great deal going on at AppSumo. I'm not going to give you any affiliate link. I'm not a big affiliate person. I believe every product should speak for itself. And so therefore, you can make up your own mind after you see everything and how it's done. So we are going to start from scratch. So I'm going to jump back over here, use the Zion Builder, and I'm hoping that those people here who are attending live, or if you're watching at a later time, you have some familiarity with Zion Builder. I'll try and keep some of the stuff, but I'm not going to go through every setting and how you operate. Or how you build something from scratch. So what we're going to do here, just for our example, I've got a demo WordPress site that I use for tons of my training. I've got Zion Builder installed. And just to make life super easy, we're just going to create a new page. We'll call this page our super flip card. And we're just going to dive right into our edit with Zion Builder. We won't deal with any of the theme. We won't deal with anything else. And to make life a little bit easier, we're going to jump over here to our settings, to the page options, just to use the Zion Builder blank canvas so we don't have to see anything else on the screen. All right, so one of the key features to understand how and what we're going to do for this flip chart, this flip card, is to understand basically structure. And if we were to be writing like an HTML flip card, which you can with straight CSS, we would need a wrapper that wraps around two divs. So basically, you're creating a front and a back of the div. Again, you're creating the front and back of this div. And as you can see, basically with Zion Builder, we can create a section and a container and two elements. Notice how they're inside the other sections and containers. Now, you might say, well, can't you just do one section and then put two elements? You could, but in order for us to get some valid transform or some animation capability added in, I want to be able to hover over a certain section that would then affect a lower section to do something, to transform something, to rotate on a certain axis. So that's what we're doing. So let's create our structure. And anytime I build with Zion Builder or play or develop something with Zion Builder, I always operate on the idea that everything should have a section. There should be a container inside that, and then the elements live inside that. So it's fairly easy just come in here and say, I could do this. I could use any of the pre-made layouts that already have a section and a container involved. But let's start from scratch by just simply going to the elements and saying we're going to create our first section. Now, in this section, notice how I opened this up. I tend to use the tree view a lot when I'm trying to lay out some structure rather than deal with the canvas. I'm going to come over here, click my little plus button, and as I said, we want a container. Only reason we are doing that is we are going to create a command that when somebody hovers over the whole section, that hover will then affect the CSS of this container, which will then turn around and modify the two elements. So now we need two elements. Basically, we need the front of the card and the back of the card. And again, if you didn't see the Facebook page, the Facebook question, we are not building an actual element that you would see here. We're not building an add-on for Zion Builder. We are simply using what Zion Builder already provides to create some advanced elements. All right, so let's jump on down here. We're just going to grab an image, do the same type of thing. Notice I've got one image here. We will do settings later. And in the container, I'm clicking on this. So I'm selecting this because I want to add another image right inside this. So this is what my structure wants to be. We need section, container, two elements. Now, in our section, container, and two elements, let's go ahead and grab images or set the images. So Again, I can right click on this, click edit, and it brings up my editing capability. Now I can scroll. You can see that there are 2 images here waiting on our area. Let's just go ahead and add our images. I'm just going to let's do 2 different images, different from what I did in the prior example. These are from other templates that are probably used from other themes. So I'm just going to add that image. Actually, no, let's do something that has a larger image. I've got some larger images here. Yeah, let's use this one. Larger image, great artist called Vlad Studio who makes these. And let's edit this second image. And we'll come, I don't know, how about a dancing dog? Now, I purposely wanted to have different sizes of images. And sure, I can go into the setting of each element and adjust the image size, but there actually is not a need because we are going to set size limits in our section and container so that whatever image is going to be here is going to be restricted by what the section and the container might operate. So let's start dealing with, and again, I'm going to show you 2 different ways to develop this. The first one, I am much more of a person who operates with CSS. I love CSS. There's so much you can do with CSS, and that's why I actually like Zion Builder as a page builder for WordPress because of its flexibility that allows me to work with just straight CSS if I wanted to. So I'm going to go over to my section. Here's my section that's wrapping everything. Go to my advanced tab, go to my custom CSS. At which point, I don't have to know what my unique ID is or anything. I mean, I could write a unique ID if I wanted to. Like I could say, oh, this is my flip box ID. Or I can just simply come in here and say element. And now we can start to set some CSS. Now I'm going to show it to you this way, and then I'm going to show it to you using the styling. So we'll first build it. So I'm going to set a width of, I don't know, let's do 300 pixels. We'll keep it fairly small. Notice how by simply me setting a width on this wrapper element, I've already constrained my images that are going to be for the front and back of the card. So I don't have to waste my time resetting image sizes for individual things, making sure it's pixel perfect or anything like that. All right, let's go through here and also say, let's set a height of 200 pixels. We'll do a border of 1 pixel solid, kind of like a little gray. Just so, I mean, I could do black if we wanted to. Oh, that's the other thing. If you've never been on a webinar with me, please ask your questions at any time. I'm actually watching the chat room or the chat box for both Facebook and YouTube at the same time while I'm teaching. So if you get a question while I'm teaching, you're like, well, hey, can you redo that? Or can you do that? I'm watching that. So we'll respond. This is live development. So we can run down rapid trails if you want. Okay, so I've got this item, and an important aspect of this is to make sure we have like a transparent color. Because we're going to be moving stuff around, I don't want to make sure that just in case there is a background somewhere else, I don't want this like flashing to occur if there's a different solid color that's there. Now, before we go any further, there is one key element of our item, and that is something called perspective. If you've never dealt with CSS, doing 3D stuff, this may be something new, but if you've poked around in the styling section, which I'll show you in just a bit, if you've poked around there in Zion Builder, there is a setting called perspective, and you might have wondered what that is. So I'm going to set a 1000 pixel perspective. So that's going to be able to give us some type of a rotation. Now we're going to come back to this element here in just a moment, but we need to add a bit more CSS to other elements. So inside our element here, we have our container. So let's edit this. In our container, again, we're going to do everything with CSS, and then I'll demonstrate it straight with styling. I love the fact that I don't have to figure out what the CSS class is or the ID. If I wanted to, I could do flip box inner or something, because that's the inner container. Or I just do element here. It already knows how to target that CSS. So just to make sure, and the reason why I'm adding the code that I'm adding here in just a moment, if for whatever reason, now everything I do at WP Studio is training developers who work with clients. So a lot of times we're trying to think ahead, like what if a client uploads a tiny image? And if they upload a tiny image into whatever flipbox we are creating for them, it'll just mess everything up. So we want to make sure that whatever image they provide, and we've already taken care of the big images resizing down with this container, we want to make sure that if they upload something that's too small, we're going to do like a width of 100% and a height of 100%. Then I'm going to go through, because anything I put in here, we're going to go ahead and do a text align. Now, the text align isn't going to affect us too much because we're using images, but one of the questions in the Facebook group was, well, what if, can I have image and text on something? Absolutely could. And so in which case I would just center my text align there. And finally, I want a position. This is important. We need a position of relative, because this element is relative, which is going to allow things inside to refer to this location. And basically, I can turn this container into having a front and a back. It's just a cool feature you could do with CSS. We're going to come back here and add animation in just a moment, but let's go to our first image. Our first image has its own CSS option. Here, this one. And we're going to do the same thing, element. And this time, the position is absolute. So the first one was relative. Do you see what just happened? We just lost something. Our image went away. Because what happened by setting the first element as absolute, and again, we'll set the other element, they now stack on top of each other. So that's what actually happens when you set something absolute inside something that has a relative position. All of the blocks, or we're going to call them sections or elements, and it's easy to see here in the tree view, each of these items would stack on top of each other. So even if I created multiple items, they're all going to stack on the same place with the position of absolute. Again, I always like to add a height of 100% and a width of 100%, just to make sure, as long as the image, we want it to fill out our 300 by 200 block here. Now, this is where we add a back face visibility. You may or may not have ever heard of this property in CSS, but especially when we're doing some 3D rotation, we want to be able to create a front and back of the card. So our back face visibility is now hidden. Now, we're not seeing this yet. It's not in effect yet because we haven't added any styling and the absolute systems of the other box, of the other image. But we got one more thing to do. Let's just, again, backface visibility works on Chrome and Firefox and others, but it will not work on Safari. So because it won't work on Safari or any of the Apple stuff, we need to do a WebKit backface visibility. And actually, you know what? It really helps if you spell things correctly. So let me add my I that I missed. All right, there we go. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked anyway. All right. So let's go ahead and finally go to our fourth image, or sorry, the second image, but the fourth block that we are going to add some CSS to. And we're going to do basically the same thing. So I'm going to copy this. Now, I would use the functionality that Zion Builder offers of being able to copy stylings, everything, but we haven't done any styling. We've just done CSS. So at this point, I literally have to copy and paste at this point. When I show you this in another method, we can do the really cool feature of Zion Builder of copy pasting stylings. So it can make life go a lot faster. But we're going to edit this dancing dog, add this custom CSS, and hit absolute. Now, notice how it's hidden, backface, same thing is there, but we're going to add one or two other things. So I'm going to just keep this as separate elements, element, and this time I'm going to start instituting some of our transform capabilities. So I'm going to transform, if I spell it correctly, to rotate on the y-axis 180 degrees. I'm going to make it a little bit easier to do a background color. Let's do our Dodger blue. Again, I'm choosing not to do hexadecimal stuff. Normally I would do that. Sure, we can do hexadecimal. So I'm adding this because right now we have just basically flipped this around, and we flipped everything around. That's why nothing is visible right now. So I need to modify and add the additional transforms for, it's going to look a little weird. It comes on, let me pull it up here. We go back to our container. Our container where we only added the CSS for positioning of relative. This is where we need to do not only a transform style, I have to preserve the 3D. That will give us that 3D effect. And then we will do a transition of transforming over the course of 0.8 seconds. Now go back up to our full section. We have one additional element to add to this, and it is a requirement of a hover. So when we come to our section, we want to be able to say, hey, for your elements, hover. Now remember I added a flipbox inner. I'm going to do flipbox inner. So what's happening is I am targeting this CSS class, or actually this element, the unique ID. But when I hover over this one, we are saying this ID, which I'll show you, make sure everybody can see. Flip, looks like I call it flip box. Is that right? Flip box inner. Let's go back to this. Flip box inner. That's right. Now we're going to do transform, rotate Y 180 degrees. Okay. Now I've got to figure out what did I do. Oh, see, this is the other fun thing. Yeah, I'm using Dashlane. You like it? This is the great thing about doing live development. I have some code, what we just did, incorrect. And I got to figure out as I was trying to talk through, what did I miss? Okay. Just make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, the benefits of live coding. I probably have a spelling error somewhere. Let me just see. Sometimes Zion, no. Okay. Let me pull this up. Why is, okay. Where's my code? We shouldn't have to set anything like that because I am, oh, I think I found it. Oh, that's what it is. 1 second. Let me pull this up and I'll show you. And I'm just clicking through the different areas. All right. So if I close this one and let me bring this over, there we are. Okay. It was a spelling error in the transform. So what we then have is we are left, let me pull up, yeah, here's the tree view. We now have our ability to, let me bring this over, show our back face visibility, turning one image backwards, and then our transform just simply flips between these two images, which means if I didn't want to use an image, what I could do is we can, rather than just a straight image, I could put a different element like text or a field or content with a background. I can then just attach this custom CSS. Now, what I'll do for everybody in the comments on the replay on YouTube, I will give you all this code here. But I wanted to show you what you could do with this exact same setup if you didn't want to get into the code. Why? If we went to our little, let's go to the first image. There's our settings. Here's our advanced options. I can go through the whole thing in using regular styling. So for example, if I want to know width, height, position absolute, and other like back-faced visibility, go to style, go to my wrapper. Now here's where I can do the 400, 300 pixels, the 200 pixels, set my width and my height. I can do it there. Jump back over here. Oh, if I can set 100% there, 100% there. Well, what about my positioning? I can come over here and go to my display and positioning options. I click absolute. So I didn't have to go through and do my CSS. I'm just more comfortable using CSS. And then this is something that I kind of love about Zion Builder, because you may be thinking to yourself, well, I don't see anything about back-faced visibility. I don't see that property in styling. Well, I could look at this and sure, we can come over here to some advanced options and do I have the ability to do that type of item? Or you can simply say, well, let's write that attribute. Custom attribute, oops, just one. Custom attribute, I can say back face visibility hidden. So this is a great way that if you need to use some lesser used CSS declarations, Zion Builder gives you that attribute that you can add additional things into wrappers, into the divs that generates the CSS. Remember when I said, well, what about the dynamic changing of items? Well, here's our transform. Here's that perspective thing where you could set it at the 1,000 pixels perspective. Perspective is how far it will spin. And yes, you can always search for that. So for example, great reminder, I can come over here and say perspective, and it's going to show you, is it from this this style wrapper, the link style, the image style? I can pull all that off. Most of the time, to do what I just demonstrated, you're going to be using the wrapper, in case you were wondering, because that's basically what we're doing when we directly enter the CSS. We are just dealing with the div that's wrapping around each of these elements. So I hope this has been, yeah, you don't have the backface visibility option yet, but that's one of the cool things about using the attributes. So we can do things that are cutting edge in CSS that I don't think any page builder offers out of the box. But we can with Zion Builder. So I hope this has been helpful just to see, with just a small 4 pieces and CSS, you can do some really advanced options that are not traditional, and you don't have to go down the road of building full-blown elements that you would add in. You could do it with section, container, images, text, those type of things. Well, I hope this has been helpful. Again, I do lots and lots of training for WordPress over at wpstudio.com. You can find that out. I normally do at least weekly free trainings here on the YouTube channel. If you like this type of stuff, definitely subscribe, however you want. I don't market and monetize the YouTube channel at all. Oh, and Georgia, absolutely. The WebKit attributes, that is also a way that you can use a benefit of using custom attributes. That's basically what you'd be doing a WebKit. You could do both, WebKit backface visibility hidden, something like that. So you do both. So, and that's the other thing. I've been doing a lot with Zion Builder just over the past week, found a lot of things that are really cool. If there are things that you wish you knew how to do, or you want an example of how to do, go ahead and leave comments on this video, or you can do it on the Facebook page. I'm following the stuff that's happening on Zion Builder's Facebook, and we can see if we can schedule a number of these webinars that can just walk through how to build something. And maybe next time I'll start with something that's built using the built-in styling rather than just straight CSS. Yassian, I'd love to spend more time with you. I'm actually out of time because of other things that I have on the schedule. So maybe we can do another webinar or another video that I'll put up here on the YouTube channel of just going through and using regular elements, regular widgets, if that works. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. I know this was kind of a last-minute webinar. Maybe we can do a few things in the future. So take care, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. And again, you can feel free to comment on this video, even when it's on the replay. You can always reach out to me at benjamin@wpstudio.com, and I can try and answer any of your questions or redirect you to a place that you might be able to find an answer. So take care, have a great rest of the day, and hopefully I'll see you on a future event.